Nichelle, is that how we say your name?
It is. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. I'm so very enthused, guys, about how well this meeting ran. I'm so enthused about this. Thank you, Andre and Terrance and Ryan, everyone being here. Appreciate it. Um, a couple of things have crossed my mind during this meeting. Number one, I just wanted to know what you would characterize a narcissist as. I will share my experience with a 25-year relationship, which I just ended in May. 25 years of my life I gave away to find at the end when I found that this doesn't make sense anymore. Are we getting married or not? And I got my answer and I said, peace out. What I learned from that is today, my nervous system has been absolutely all over the place. I constantly am thinking about other people and trying to get back into myself. That's number one. So I would like to know what you would define a character of a narcissist. Number two is the idea that you're mentioning that men are simple is so true. Why do I say that? I actually thought about being a male at one time in my life, and I'm putting that out there for a reason, because I was trying to do a sociology experiment. So I played the role of a male, and let me tell you something. I'm a woman, and I'm the easiest prey. If you say the right things to me, you make me feel like I'm being heard or important. You tell me that I'm beautiful, and you get in my head, you can get almost anything you want. So why am I saying all this today? Now I'm on the path of actually trying to do it right and find a different breed, if you will, of a male. I know what my male looks like. I know what my husband looks like. My ex teacher, he did. His mouth did not connect, and I finally said, I can't do it anymore. So thanks again for everything. I do work with the public. I do see and read people so easily,
Yeah,
including myself. Thank you so much, guys.
we appreciate you.
We appreciate you. Thank you, Nichelle.
Ryan, you want to take that?
Which one?
Just some of the points she brought up.
So just to reiterate, Nichelle, if you don't mind, um, can you restate the question, please? Thank you.
Just to make sure we got it right.
Yep.
Absolutely, no worries. And I can drag this on, right? And
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I'm sitting right outside the gym, and I'm ready to get some of this aggression out of me. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to know, what would you define as a narcissist? Number
Okay.
one. And
Okay.
then number two, right? Now that I've begun to clean my house, I know that Terrance had talked about all the garbage, and if someone made, like put some junk, trust me, now I see it, because I got my own, right? I got my own now. So I'm starting all over with a clean slate. I'm still having those 2 days of pain that Terrance had mentioned. Trust me, where it's just pouring down pain and resentment and guilt, da 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 da. So I'm trying to move forward, right? And I just
Mhm.
want to do it the right way. Thank you so much.
Okay. So I understood your first one. I just wanted to ask you real quick about the second one. Are you asking about like healthy ways of continuing to move forward? Is that correct?
Now you're putting tools. Now I'm going to share a little bit more about me, right? Too much I'm sharing already. I attend CODA, Love Addicts Anonymous, Nicotine Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, all those anonymous groups. And I hear the mess pot. And if some of these and each of these groups are part of me, again, that's my path. I'm moving forward. So
Mhm.
just kind of want to just, know how to, I guess, be safe in today's social media world. Is it safe to go online and find? Just not like, I'm in my late 50s, so I'm still hope. I don't want to lose that hope. But I just wanted to know, what would you advise your cousin, your sister, or someone you really cared about, as much as you know as I've shared about you about myself from here?
Okay. Thank you for giving me a little bit more clarity and sharing about yourself, Nichelle. I appreciate it. I'm going to answer your first question, which was about like basic characteristic of narcissists. If you want a medical definition, you can consult the DSM-5.
Yeah.
Terrance also has a lot of experience, but I would just want to say, if we want to get away from labels and we want to know, look, uh, I am not a medical professional, a narcissist, and I don't expect you to be. So, what can I give you and everyone else on here a practical way of looking at it? And I'm going to not necessarily say narcissist. I'm going to say somebody who's so self centered, they're going to destroy you or your life and they don't care about it. One of the things we want to look at is when it comes to getting what they want, is that the priority above anything else to the point where you are hurt and they don't care about it? Number one, what is their actual boundary of how much they're willing to hurt somebody or put them in a bad position? Three, are they even able to admit that they have done something wrong or apologize? And is their reputation more important than what they're actually doing? Somebody who's extremely self-centered and may fall under the category of narcissist is going to have all of these traits. So if I'm in the world and I'm not a medical professional, I'm not diagnosing people. I want to stay away from problematic people. I want to stay away from people who are going to mess me up because they're too self-centered and they're just looking for something out of me. Then I simply want to start asking certain questions. These include the questions that we're putting in the book, the 101 questions. They include some of the stuff that Terrance and I and Teresia have put in this book about how to choose a man. But at the end of the day, it's asking them questions or really observing them. It's how are they treating other people? And are they willing to ever admit they're wrong or put themselves in a bad light, truthfully? And look, we're especially the older we get, the less time we have to mess with BS. All of us had time when we were younger to believe we had all the time in the world, and I totally understand it. But somebody who's um, the less time somebody has and the less BS they want to play, it's very easy to start picking people out between the self-centered and problematic and the people who are genuinely wanting to put something forward. And I would say you want to observe how they treat others, even when they have a power or ability over them. If you ever make yourself emotionally vulnerable or seemingly emotionally vulnerable, and they jump at that and use it in order to get something they want, that's a sign. That's a really quick way. And when I say emotionally vulnerable or seemingly emotionally vulnerable, I'm not saying we should just go out here and perform an act. Because at the end of the day, the problematic people we're trying to avoid are putting it on an act. But what I'm saying is there are certain things or certain conversations we can share where it may make us look vulnerable, but it doesn't really make us look vulnerable. And I'm going to say this for some of the questions that have been asked and some of the questions that may be asked. I believe Regina was talking about it, is how can we ask things without oversharing? If I ask you a specific question, like when was the last time you really messed up and how did you account for it? I am ready to share something with you that if you bring it up in the future, it's not going to hurt me. It's not that I'm lifeless. It's not that it's a lie. It's not that it never happened. But I have taken full accountability of that situation that happened in the past, and I made amends. So I've healed. So I know that if somebody wants to throw it back in my face, it's actually not a way they can manipulate me. But when somebody is looking to manipulate us, they're going to latch on to it because for them, it's like a hook with a fish. They
Mhm.
think that that's their ticket in. And when people jump on it immediately, that's your sign to leave.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things we can do about asking questions or getting to know somebody without oversharing and test it out. And real quick, the signs are that, again, they believe their reputation is more important than what they actually do. They are willing to hurt others and specifically to a certain degree, and their own wants or needs matter more than how they treat other people. And they will jump at opportunities to make you look bad or feel bad to get what they want. So, real quick, the second part, um, regarding online, I know and I have met some people that have met people online. And I'm going to say this. It is not impossible, and I am not saying that you should not and don't touch it and don't go anywhere near it. What I'm going to tell you is the probability of finding someone who's stable, like you, and what you're looking for online is not as probable as finding them in person. And number two, the ease of which you can profile somebody and get to know them as a real person and hold them accountable is greater when you see them in person, when you know what they look like, when you know the people they hang around, when you are starting to become involved in their life. All of that can be faked or easily removed when we're only doing it online.
Mhm.
So I am not saying don't go online. But in order to go online and find somebody, there are a lot of extra steps that we need to take to make sure that we are protecting ourselves. And at the end of the day, if you have support groups, you have different groups that you go to. They don't have to be support groups. They could be a training session at the gym, right? It could be anything where you normally see people that know other people and can start vouching for them. It makes it a lot easier because if they mess with you and they do something really bad, this person knows that you know the people they hang around. It's a lot more difficult to get away with things when you know and are able to hold them accountable. So I encourage people all the time. The most natural way to make friends is in person. The most natural way to find somebody is in person. Now, you might find somebody online who lives in your area. Perfect. Get offline. You know what I'm saying? Now, that doesn't mean you jump into it without thinking, like figure out who they are, right? Before you go meet up in person. Let's have some normal procedures of making sure we're safe online, but we are not starting the relationship online. We're doing everything we can if we think this is a good idea to meet them in person, but we are not committing online. We need to meet them in person if they're in our area. Then we need to get to know them in person before we can make that decision.
Yeah, agreed. Only thing I would add to it is a lot of people don't look at the real research about what percentage of people find their, again, I don't deal with boyfriend and girlfriends. Like I don't know a nice way to say this. I deal in high level circles. You're either married or you're not. You don't you don't come in here saying this is my girlfriend. We don't know what that means. You're either with this person or you're not. So the best research for that is around 80% of these people find their wives, or 80% of these people find their husbands in their real world, walking around social groups in the community. So if you look at the amount of failure, you're much, much more likely to be find failure online. You're much more likely to come across sociopathic individuals online, and that's where the majority of the competition is.
Mhm.
You again, it's scary to go into the places where healthy people are because a lot of us have never been in these places. But if you go there, there's way less competition. Like I met my wife at a coffee shop. There was a coffee shop that professionals were known to meet. I met my wife. Ryan was there. Within, I would say, 20 minutes, she had made it clear that she had a lot of intelligence. She had a lot of knowledge. And after 20 minutes, I started asking her serious relationship questions. And but that's how serious people move, because serious people, they know themselves. They've done the healing. They know the life they live and they know the life they want to live. They're not playing games. If anyone has ever worked in sales, it is harder to sell to someone that is just has an apartment and a car versus somebody with a mansion, two boats, and five cars. It's way harder to do the deal for the person with just the Kia and the apartment. Why? Because the person that has all these resources and has all these other things, they know exactly why they're there. And price doesn't scare them away. They're looking for a connection. So this is like one of the saddest things that I see happens to women all the time. It's so much easier to marry a serious guy that has a serious, stable life. It's so much easier to get with that person as long as that woman is healed than to deal with the flaky person on Match.com. But you have to do the work beforehand. So, like, when you're talking to a serious guy, one of the questions he's likely going to ask is, what do you have any restrictions on moving? That is one of the most important questions, because especially in this economy and how it's a global economy now, this might be somebody that might be offered a ton of money to go to Japan for a year or two. You know, Ryan, the other criminologist I work with, Justin. Justin, he moved his family to Brazil. Why? Because the government was paying ridiculous amounts of money for that. So when we start talking about lifestyle questions, serious men are very interested in lifestyle questions. How you want to raise children? Where do you want to live? What are your expectations on the size of your house? What kind of car, if any, would you like to drive? How would you like to raise children if we had any children? What are your values and principles that you hold dear, even if you will be ostracized for it? That's when you start veering into like serious conversations. But what happens is these are people that are, they're serious. They're asking it because they want to know. But if the person is the right fit for them, they move. They're like, okay, let's move this. Let me meet you. Let me meet your family. Let me meet your friends. Meet my family. Meet my friends. Let's come up with essentially a relationship constitution, which is what is the agreed upon behavior for me? What are the agreed upon behavior of you? It moves fast. Like when our friend group decided we were going to get married, it was 9 of us. We all got married in less than 2 years. Every one of us. So, like, when men get serious, they don't play games. It's just how we operate. That's why and one of the questions asked me, are we talking about straight men or whatever? I'm talking about men in general. Men go to where they want. They are in the situation they're in because this is the situation they have chosen to be in right now. If you look out there and you're profiling a guy for a relationship or whatever, look at the situation he's actually in, not this hope, this dream he's cast. I'm talking about, where is he actually in? Look at the friends. Is his friends mostly married? Mostly not. Are his friends responsible? Mostly yes, mostly no. Is his moves in life, are they mostly responsible? Yes or no? Is his knowledge base that which you would expect from somebody moving in that direction? Like, I don't have to ask somebody how much money they make. If I can know how much money a guy makes basically by his financial knowledge. So these are all the ways men profile other men. And these are things that fathers should have taught their daughters. And it's really sad that this was not taught. But that's why we can see right through a guy's garbage. Because you don't talk about it, you be about it. It's as simple as that. So just like a perfect example, like my wife. If I was playing games, her dad would have killed me because he's a serious man. He's not somebody playing games. He would, to the best of his ability, he would have tried to hurt me. But that's why I was able to go face to face with him and say, hey, I'm talking to your daughter. I'm interested in her. And we were able to talk. See, honest men love to know what the responsibilities are. They want to know what they're getting into. When somebody's just saying, oh, I don't really know, that's little boy talk. Good luck. I don't know where that relationship's going to go. And this is just as clear as day. When you go into these circles of men, and I had to learn it myself. I had to go into male circles and realize, oh, I'm tripping. Like I'm not operating like I'm supposed to. And who straightened me out? The other men around me and said, this is the standard. This is what you have to be. And that will tell you so much. So I
Mhm.
hope that helps. But if you're in those circles, it's clear as day. It's clear as day. You can't fake it. You get me in front of a guy and I can ask him, 40 to 50 questions. I'll know if he's full of crap or not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, by the way, one of the conversations I had with my own wife before we got married, when we first met, and we had gotten to know each other in a shared friend group. One of the first things that I talked with her about was, what are we doing? So I said, I am trying to get to know you with the intention of figuring out whether we're going to get married or not. Is that what you're doing? She said, yes. I said, okay, then I want to just to be absolutely clear, then either we're going to get married or we're going to decide, one of us or mutually, that it's not what we're looking for and I would like to depart in peace. Meaning I will not come after you. I don't have any ill wishes. I really just want to find somebody. That's one of the first conversations I had with her. And within the next 1 or 2 weeks, then we started having the conversations that are similar or the same ones that we're putting out in this book, the 101 questions or conversations to ask. When a man knows what he wants, he's going to go after it, and you're going to be able to see in the process by which he goes after it.
1000%. And this is cleared if you look at all the top books currently for sale on Amazon that men buy, as
Mm-hmm.
well as the people that men follow. If you look at Alex Hormozy, Joe Rogan, Jocko Willink, David Goggins, they're all saying the same thing. When
Mm-hmm.
guys are serious and they see value in the woman and they're looking for a long-term commitment, they're not looking for a girlfriend. But see, this is the scary thing is if somebody is okay with being put in the category of girlfriend, you end up being disqualified from the category of wife in a lot of ways. Because somebody that's saying, I'm not going to be in a relationship if it's not heading to marriage, don't let them put you in the category of girlfriend just forever. Because that's not a husband. That's not how husbands think. Husbands got a giant list of things they're trying to accomplish. It's just the having the wife starts the process. You know what I'm saying? That's again when we write the book of incels and wincels. A lot of women can't find men right now because the men are not coming out of hiding, aka work, aka their house. They're not going out looking for a relationship until they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
They have seen from the mistakes of their fathers. Do not go into the relationship game until you're your best self. And this is happening over and over and over again. I could show you the websites, I can show you the content. So, but again, this is a difficult thing because we're coming up on almost a year of doing these presentations. The people we work with, not one person says, I was led astray. Every person I work with, and I know content was posted as of right now. We're not taking any more clients because I keep 11 clients. Ryan keeps a small amount of clients as well. We're going to start having workshops in the future in about hopefully a month. And then we can start talking about some of the ways to, get high quality circles, whether it's friendships, whether it's romantic relationships, whether it's serious professional relationships, regardless. But so we have so much power over our lives. We really do. You tell somebody that they're qualified for you and that you're qualified for them because you've done the work to understand what you want. And it's so much simpler than people understand. It's so like Ryan, we go to car shows all the time, 100 people, 200 people, 300 people. You know, again, because we're in the car community and married, living great, couples, almost everybody there is married. They're either married or in the process of becoming married. And the work looks different for men and women usually. But most people don't tell you what the work looks like. But we'll have to cover that in a long form thing because that could take like 2 or 3 hours.
Very true.
Yeah,
Thank you, Nichelle. And
appreciate you.
whether you're getting off now or later and we forget, I hope you have a good time at the gym and have a good workout.
Appreciate you. Hey, Ryan, I want to cover this right here. Someone said,
Yep.
why is there a stigma for mental health counseling or something? Let me see. Why is there such a
Yeah.
stigma over mental health and counseling? I'm gonna be real, and I'm telling you this out of my heart. You got to stop caring what people think. Most people as somebody that used to work for the government, as somebody that had accesses to people's tax returns, most people are broke. Most people do not have loving individuals in their life. Most people are having a PhD in lying about their circumstances. Most people are not happy. Most people are not proud of themselves. Most people are not headed in a positive direction. So who cares what they think? You will never get haters from someone doing better than you. Every person that had to work themselves into something valuable had to go through that same lonely tunnel of being depressed, being scared, not knowing, reaching out for help. I have not come across any self-made person, man, woman, whatever, that didn't have to go through that period of time. The same person that will make fun of you for getting mental health is the same person that refuses to work on their trauma and work on their issues for the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. Everybody acts big and bad until you see them in person and you give them a shoulder to cry on, and then the truth comes out. So, hey, walk around with pride. If that's your struggle, if that's what you have to work on, go ahead. And if anybody has something bad to say about it, they're not your friend anyway. Let them go. You know how many people, when I was working for the government, told me it was crazy for me to go private sector? And then those same people wishes I would have put them on my book. Those same people wish that I would give them opportunities I have. So it's just so often there is a rule, and there's a rule of success. Whatever the majority of the population is doing, either do the opposite or don't do it at all. Remember 2 years ago, everybody said going to real estate? What happened? When real estate was overinflated, now you got all these people underwater. During COVID, people were buying cars left and right. Now you got negative equity all over the place. Elon Musk pumped the cities with these stupid Teslas, and now over and over again, I have people crying to me because they owe 70 grand on a Tesla Plaid that's now worth 30. If you want to be successful in this world, one of the greatest things you can do is ignore people who don't know what they're talking about. And I say this with care. I feel sad that so many people get fooled. If you want to get a husband, you see what the majority of the population is doing and don't do that. You want to get a wife and you don't want to end up in divorce court seeing your daughter every second Saturday. Look at what the majority of men do and don't do that. Focus on the people that are successful, and success leaves clues. And the sad part about it is most people will never take the time to learn. They won't do it. So you got, 50, there's probably 50 or 60 groups on this platform about narcissism prevention. How many groups on this platform are talking about where the healthy people are going? Hmm? Because it's easy to be negative, but it's very hard to be positive and figure out what the work I have to do is. But it's both ways. So focus on, hey, I don't want these narcissists in my life, but also figure out as the world gets more competitive, as AI takes more and more jobs, as more and more people fail at becoming successful, as more and more individuals lose their job, how can I still be successful? How can I still be happy? And every person has to come up with their own definition of happiness. So that's my answer. Hey, Ryan, you want to take that next question right here? In your experience, do you think?
Yeah, I got it. So someone asked, in your experience, do men think the same way regardless of their age? So if the guy's in his 50s or 60s, already raised kids, is single, and just wants to live the rest of his life with a serious companion, do you find that they have the same standards of finding someone? And would older men typically be interested in marriage as well? I'm going to answer the second one first. An older man is still going to be interested in marriage if it makes sense. And when I say if it makes sense, if it means if the person in front of him is a wife. Honestly, if a guy is balanced, he has boundaries, he understands what a marriage is like, and he has a healthy view of it. Most men who are older, who are truly looking for a companion, are completely okay marrying somebody and getting remarried, even if they're in their 50s and 60s, to somebody who is truly safe. Most of the time, it's not about their age, it's about what they've been doing for the last 20 years. Not really that they're 50 or 60. With that being said, especially as somebody who has a dad who recently got married in his 50s/60s, remarried, there's always the concern about the safety of their life savings. When I say life savings, like 401k, IRA, whatever it is, their retirement, when they get legally married, it then becomes a shared thing. And should a woman divorce him, she gets to take some of it. That, like the financial, legal stuff, is usually the only reason a stable man who's making sense may choose not to get legally married at that age. But otherwise, if there's the right woman who is healthy, stable, and not going to mess up his life and brings him peace, whether it's in his 20s, 30s, 40s, or 70s, there isn't really that hesitation of not wanting to get involved. With that being said, like I mentioned earlier, yes, age and situation may have different standards, but I'm going to say this. A healthy man in their 50s and 60s might have different standards than someone in their 20s and 30s for a few reasons. One, they might be less naive. Two, they might actually be more strict. Like they might have gotten hurt so many times that now they might have more um, deal breakers that may or may not be reasonable. But at the end of the day, I mean, if they just want to live the rest of their life with a companion, the basic thing is peace. Do you bring peace as a companion, or do you bring stress? Do you bring problems? Do you solve problems, or do you cause problems? A man in his 20s or 30s, like Terrance or I, might be looking for a woman to raise kids with. And if he's already done that, maybe he doesn't care. But if he's already raised the kids, he may want a companion who his family also likes and treats his family well. Because I'm going to tell you something. Even if you don't have to raise kids with him, even if you don't have to have kids with him, and they have a family of their own, it is wonderful and peaceful when you bring a companion and he brings you in and you get along with the family and not cause more problems. If I have a good a relationship with the rest of my family and I want to bring somebody in who's wonderful to me and then fights with everyone else, is that really peace?
Mhm.
No.
Absolutely. Just want to clarify. Yeah, since me and Ryan aren't taking clients right now, we try to be on for at least 2.5 to 3 hours because sometimes life happens and we have to push back the next event,
Mhm.
and people just need help. They want advice. They want someone to talk to about their issues. So we try to stay on at least 2.5 to 3 hours because this is, I love it. This is what we do. This is what I do for a living. One of the things, going back to the original question, and I'm going to make this very clear. If you want a certain type of person, get a sheet of paper out, and I want you to write down what kind of life you want. So, like my wife walking Ryan behind me, she's cooking, doing all kind of stuff. Do you know how easy it is to get a certain type of man? Because I'm going to explain real quick how men think. If I say, hey, I went to school, I went to law school, I got a master's degree in criminology, I did this, I did that. That was my life. I have an idea of what kind of experiences I want in my life. I'm looking for someone that wants those types of experiences as well, along with the values and principles and stuff like that. Most people show up to the relationship interview without having a resume of what they want. And that's why they don't get what they want. And it's that simple. Do you notice, Ryan, especially in 2025, most of the couples we come across, the hundreds of couples we come across, he and she and she, he and he, they are very similar people. Now, not they don't have to have the same exact skill set, but they complement each other.
The healthy couples, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, we only talk about healthy couples. Is they complement each other. So my question is, however you want to live, what would be the complement of that?
Hmm.
So my wife, when I met her, she was saying, I really want a fast car. I want to, I like fast cars. I like driving. I like shooting guns. You know, I don't I don't have to live in Michigan. I don't, I can travel. I like to play video games every now and then. I'm like, oh, calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down. You're already sweet talking me.
I was there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you also have to have done the work. So, for instance, let's say somebody says, hey, I want to live in a $4,000 home. Cool. Let's say the guy has the money and says, all right, I'm a baller. I got 400 grand for you, 500 grand. Let's go get the house. Does he also need to know how to decorate it? Or can she know how to decorate it? So, like, for instance, the house here, I didn't pick this house out. My wife picked it out. I didn't know what tactile I was looking at. I didn't know what real wood and all this other stuff is. She had the complement to my skill set. So I have a skill set. She has a complementary skill set. So when you look at the life you want, what is your complement? And where is your complement likely to be at? We really overcomplicate this. This is why I'm serious. When you go and look at high level circles, you'll see just plain people and you'll be like, how did this person get this life? Why? Because he asked for it or she asked for it righteously. And I don't know a nice way to say it. Money doesn't scare certain people away. Money only scares people away if they don't have any money. That's one of the ways that you can actually profile for insecurities in someone is you look at the level of success they find threatening. So if
Hmm.
I'm talking to a guy, does he find $100,000 a year threatening? If I put him in a circle with men that are making 10 million a year, can he function? 100 million a year, can he function? Or is he one of those people, no matter where he's at, he can still find pride in himself because the measure of his masculinity is not his money, it's his integrity. So
Mm-hmm.
you can test for all these things because reality has a way of cutting right through lies. And what we can do on the Patreon is I can take you through an exercise of creating, a relationship profile, not just for another person, but for yourself. And this is the irony. Most people do not tell the truth of why they're successful. And some of them don't know why they're successful. But especially in modern ages, they knew where they were going and they headed in that direction. And while they were in that direction, they found the right person. Only thing I'm going to add to it is something as simple as this that most people wouldn't think. Where is one of the best places to find high level guys just in a curious location? 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning at a Myers or a Menards. Why? Because at a certain point, when a guy's life gets busy, you find that he's operating early in the morning. So like Ryan, me and you both wake up early in the morning. Almost all the guys we know wake up between 4 and like 5:30 in the morning.
I can't tell you how freeing it is when you wake or up early and get like everything you need to get done,
Yes.
your chores or most of it by like noon.
Yeah.
It is because if you think about it, you get up at let's say 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
Between 4 and 12 is 7 hours. That's like a whole work day. You can even get a nap in there in the afternoon and still have hours left.
Yeah.
It is a free existence to men who have things to do because
Exactly.
we got them done early when there's less distraction, when nobody's calling us, when nobody else is in the stores, and when no one else is at the gym. And then we have all the time and the rest of the day to enjoy with our families.
Yeah. Exactly. So even something as simple as notice like running clubs that operate early in the morning. That's
Hmm.
usually a gateway into other high quality circles. And I say high quality, I mean literally people are taking their life seriously. They're taking their life seriously. They're trying to fight their traumas. They're trying to be the best version of themselves. It's something as simple as just getting up 2 or 3 hours earlier. But the fact is, Ryan, most people won't do it. Even as something as simple as you remember when I was single, I could always find other high level guys, and they would be back when Walmart and Myers were open 24 hours a day. You would find them in the pet aisle at like 11 o'clock at night because they're tired, but they got to get that dog food for their dog.
Yep.
I was tired, but my cat ran out of kitty litter, and I got to get that kitty litter. And there's
Hmm.
certain places that men meet up with each other. There's like, okay, cool. This is great. Also in the middle of the day at places that specialize in cologne. Less than 10% of the less than 10% of the male population uses cologne. And it's usually a very specific type of male takes cologne seriously. So
Yep.
it's all these other profiling chips. But hey, Martin, what's going on, man? It's been a while.
Welcome back, Marty. Always good to see you, man.
Just give me moments. Gotta set everything up here.
You're all good.
Okay.
This person said
Okay.
bedtime. I go to bed. I
Uh,
have, PTSD for years. It's just something I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life, probably. So I'm in bed by like 10, but I'm up at by 4 or 5 o'clock. What about you, Ryan? What time do you go to bed?
Between 8:30 and 10 is when I try. And by the way, guys, like it's just setting a habit. If
Yeah.
if you need 8 hours of sleep, 9 hours of sleep, set a schedule. And I'm gonna most of the people I work with that if they say I want to wake up at 4 a.m., I want to wake up at 5 a.m., but I have a hard time, it's usually because they set too many things to do that they have to get done the night before, and then they don't actually set the routine.
Uh-oh, Andre, we see your face. Uh-oh. Yeah.
But hey, I'm talking about if you have a reason to wake up at 4 a.m. and you say, I want to, but I'm having a hard time. I am not out here saying that everyone needs to wake up at the same time I do.
All I'm saying is you end up coming across another group of people. But hey, Martin, go ahead, man.
hey, how's it going, Terrance, Ryan, and Nadra? I hope everything is going well. It's been a while. I just want to thank you, Terrance, for giving me the advice because I think last time we talked, I was always asking about books to read and all that stuff, and you just kind of said, you want put the books down get out there and live life. And I've done that. And in regards to the whole like, dealing with narcissists and stuff like that, I had like you always talk about finding like high value people. I had a situation where like on my journey right now, I'm going to therapy, I'm healing, I'm getting better. Um, and all of a sudden I saw this thing. I bumped into a men's group that I thought were really cool, very interesting. And they're like, "Oh, you should come to our integrity session." So I went to one and it was like a gong show because it wasn't a men's group integrity session. It was like a mixed group, but it was just a lot of unprocessed people who like very emotional, very and I got to realize very quickly that this men's group was kind of attached with kind of like a scammer thing where essentially it was just getting people kind of hooked into this kind of cult-like mentality. And because of listening to you guys doing the inner work, listening to the books and so forth, and just kind of seeing that I was kind of like the only rational voice in the room, and you just saw people getting swept up in the emotion and the drama, and you see all the performative people, the narcissists, and how like even with these narcissists, how all these people that were kind of hurting around these people were very like sycophants. They had no idea how to live life. They were just like walking around with their like umbilical cord trying to plug into somebody to get something out of life. So I just want to thank you for that because that really made me realize that, you know what, even not finding high value people, but kind of experiencing what absolute craziness is, makes you
Hmm.
realize that, wow, I need to kind of find better places. But it's a good wake up to kind of see like what absolute crazy was. But also, again, like with doing the inner work, like what you guys have been saying, I recently met somebody where all of a sudden we were able to talk about stuff, and it was like two people finding each other who spoke the same language, who were getting their lives on track, doing all that.
Mhm.
So I encourage everybody to kind of, take, these sessions to heart and really kind of do the work on yourself because one thing that I was getting kind of annoyed coming to these sessions, whereas I was always seeing people coming up and like what Terrance said earlier about people, doing all these things, but yet still being at the same spot they were like a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they haven't moved forward at all.
Mhm.
I
Right.
think that's really important. So I just want to thank you guys for this. It was like I think started seeing you guys. I think what like maybe March of this year. I think it was like it was kind of
Yeah.
shortly right after you guys started or
Mhm.
whatever.
Last
But
month.
I've always been impressed with what you've provided. Like even I think the last time when I was on here, I think I told you guys that I was kind of doing a relationship, what I called an autopsy, because essentially I broke up with somebody and I had to kind of figure out what went wrong because I was kind of spinning my wheels on stuff. And I
Hmm.
remember somebody who I know who lives close to me saw me on here, and then they asked me if I was okay because, and I said why. They're like why would you call it like a relationship autopsy? And I'm just like, well, you have to kind of get your life together, right? But then this person is very chaotic with their love life. Like they've dated, I think like 6 or 7 people this year, and every time, they talk about their dating life, it's like a nightmare. And for them, it was kind of that weird thing of like, yeah, I'm trying to figure myself out, but yet you're kind of making fun of me because, I want to kind of figure out what I did wrong in this situation. Because when you're in a relationship, it's two people and you're part of that equation. So, and that kind of references back to what you were talking about earlier too, where a lot of people have this stigma about self-help and trying to, get help for mental health and all that stuff. And I think you just have to avoid that. Like if you need the help, you got to seek it out, but just find a reputable source and, find a good group of people that you can be dealing with, right?
1000%. I appreciate you. It's something as simple as this. This app, the Meetup app, has problems working. And so some people have trouble logging on. And there's a bunch of comments that say this is a scam, that this is somehow we're charging people to hop on to the Zoom, and the Zoom link was a scam. No matter, we're at like, I think 28 or 29 presentations. You
Mhm.
have nearly 1,100 or 1,200 positive reviews, and you're still only as good as somebody's last recollection of you in many ways. It's not about what you've done. It's not about the case studies and the hundreds of people you've saved. In the eyes of many people, you're only as relevant as how they view you right now, and they're not going to take the time to learn. So that's why you have to dig deep and say, you know what? I'm on my own journey. I know what's up because We all can lie to strangers, we can lie on social media, but we can't lie to the person in the bed at 11 o'clock at night when the moonlight reflects off the ceiling fan. If we're still in the same spot that we were last year, when the heck are we going to make a change? When are we going to make a change? And so, like, something that has happened a lot of times with me is, and somebody just asked a question. They said they've been receiving therapy for 3 years. How do they know they're healed? When they've made progress. When you've made progress to where you want to be. It's as simple as that. And there's a difference between being in therapy. There's a difference between watching presentations and living it. And that's the hard part. That's the hard part. Just like the young man that I was coaching this morning. He was talking about how difficult life was. And I asked him, I said, "Do you want life to be difficult or do you want it to be easier?" "I want life to be easier." "Okay. Are you serious about it?" "Oh, I'm serious." "Are you really serious about it?" "I'm really serious." "Okay, cool. I know you're in Michigan. There's a boxing club like 5 miles from you. Take up boxing twice a week." "Well, I don't want to do that." "Okay. Well, life doesn't get easier. You get stronger usually. And if you go do boxing twice a week, the annoyances of people online won't seem that serious anymore because now you got real problems. And so that's another thing that often comes hand in hand with, especially when you're talking about males healing and getting better. You're going to see gym, you're going to see mixed martial arts, you're going to see boxing. You're going to often see stuff like that. And I recommend it because it changes your life. It really does. Because you're forced to deal with difficult things every week. You get used. I think it's also very good for humbling you. Ryan, I used to think I was so tough, arresting people, doing all kind of stuff to people. But, you go to a mixed martial arts class and somebody strangles you for 30 minutes. You're like, okay, I think my ego's down here. I'm good.
100%.
And it's just one of those things. But I tell people, if you've been in the same spot for years and years and years, whatever you're currently doing, change. Because those are years you don't get back. And we're fighting our own progress many times. And one of the biggest lies I see over and over again is this belief that we have all this time in the world. We just assume we have all this time, even though over 2.7 million people get killed a year, whether it's heart disease, all these other ways to go. And we just assume we have all this time. But even if you do get what you want, you could have likely got it so much sooner if you just made a couple changes. It's not like 50 changes, you know what I mean, Ryan? It's usually two or three changes that are holding people back.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me interjecting a little
Yeah, go
bit,
ahead.
look, there's when we do like a relationship autopsy, like Marty said, or whatever you want to call it, we reflect back and we say, look, I'm not where I want to be, and I haven't been doing what I need to be doing. It can feel heavy,
Yeah,
and we can even have a little sense of guilt. But if we appreciate the fact that we woke up today alive and we have more time to do it, that pain is there to remind us that we should do it. But we shouldn't beat ourselves up for not having doing it. We should use that and say, I still have another day and I'm reminded that I didn't do it, so let me start today. And let me have that every day. When I wake up, remind myself I did it yesterday and it's time to keep going, even though I didn't start when I should have, even though I didn't do what I needed to do at the time, I still have the chance now. And
yeah,
it is a very healthy way of keeping ourselves on track without beating ourselves up or going crazy. But the point about that is we do need to be hard on ourselves to continue doing what we need to do. And we need to be hard on ourselves to start doing it. If
absolutely.
we are only hard on ourselves for not having done it, but we don't do it, it's a form of self-torture. And that's what tends to drive people insane, where we get really mad, we get angry, we get sad, we get depressed, but our life doesn't improve. No matter how we feel or how bad we feel about not having done it or messing up an opportunity, we need to put the same amount of emotion or energy or effort into saying, well, then I get to start now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With that said, Ryan, I think we've gone through almost all the questions. I'm gonna be on for another 5 or 6 minutes, just in case there's any additional questions, but I think we got through almost everybody. Let me see.
We did have a question in our chat
Okay.
from, I don't know if this was specifically from one of our moderators or that was reposted, but it says, how does one navigate having an unhealthy family unit once they're in a serious relationship with a partner that's heading towards marriage?
Okay. So one of these is you need to be upfront with the significant other on the nature of your family unit.
Hmm.
So this is one of the articles that I posted on Patreon, and I wrote about it because what you don't want to do is this person find out later on that this is a huge issue that he or she didn't see coming. I made the article in relation to the movie Cinderella,
Hmm.
where you have somebody that creates an attraction of an individual without understanding this person's background. Like only in a Disney movie will this usually work out. Where you find out, okay, by the way, this person isn't a real princess. Oh, by the way, this person doesn't have a real carriage. Oh, by the way, this person has a messed up family. Oh, by the way. But see, this is the we get in front of these by just being honest and saying, hey, this is my family situation. However, this is not the situation that I'm going to have you in. These are the boundaries I'm going to have with my family. And it will be a series of maybe tough conversations, but would you rather have a tough conversation or a tough life? I have a PhD in telling people no. I tell people no all the time, family, friends, whatever. Why? Because I don't know a nice way to say it. I don't need most people in my life. I don't. Most people, they come to me with their hands out, wanting things for me, not helping to want to work on things with me. So I have no problem telling people no who are not looking to build. And one of the problems that we often have with family is people are unsuccessful in our family units. They're not coming to terms with the reasons why they're unsuccessful, and they want other people to just deal with it. Okay, that sounds extremely selfish. So, beg your pardon, I'm going to be selfish as well and make sure my life is not being dragged down because someone else doesn't want to act like an adult. Like, I don't have time to parent adult children. I don't. And in my own relationship, Ryan knows this. There's some people I don't see very often, and I love them from a distance. And that's what we often have to do, especially if we want healthy lives ourselves. We have to love people from a distance. Want to
It
add
can
that?
be, yeah, I wanted to add something, which is if we spend most of our time or our sense of family is alone, it's very easy to let people hurt us, let people overstep boundaries, forgive them and say it is what it is, and I'm fine with it for now, but this isn't healthy. It's very easy to do that. And as soon as we start bringing somebody else into the picture, that's where we start to realize I might not be able to do that anymore because now it's affecting somebody else and I don't want to affect them that way. The easiest way to get around this is start taking an inventory. Start reflecting over what boundaries I should be putting for myself to respect myself. Because when I'm looking to get into a serious relationship with somebody, it's a different conversation to have when you say, I might have problematic people in the family, but I already have it under control. I already have specific boundaries, and this is how you don't need to deal with them. But if you're figuring it out for the first time because you've never addressed it, it is important to think about what boundaries you would set. But we need to have those answers for ourselves. So for instance, I think, look, I'm going to be honest. I think most people have problematic people in their family. That doesn't necessarily mean they're bad or evil or ill-intended. It could just be they cause a problem. And you can put it on a sliding scale from, just a little difficult to deal with. They might be a little bit racist, whatever it is, to the extreme, right? I had problematic people in my family, not to the extreme, but I had an idea of what I wanted my wife or a future wife to even deal with. Hey, I am going to stand as the boundary between you and these problematic people. This is how I'd like to solve it. But here are other problems I may not be able to foresee. Is that okay with you? And of course, we're having this conversation once we've both determined each other's character, meaning there's a reason to talk about our problems, meaning I like who the other person is that fits most of the categories for who I'm looking for as a potential wife, and I meet theirs for a potential husband. The family dynamics and the fringe stuff may or may not be a priority, but we're going to talk about it. Now we're at the right stage of talking. But if I didn't have that, it's almost like now I'm dumping all of this on you because now I feel like I can, and good luck. And even if I didn't mean it that way, being unprepared can often be misunderstood as now I'm just dumping everything on you. But that's why having the ability to have difficult conversations with somebody is a good indicator on whether the relationship potentially has something to stand on. The more you can have difficult conversations with somebody where the end result is a better mutual understanding or even agreement, even if the agreement is, I don't understand, but we should talk about it more, that is a good indicator of what's coming ahead. But if we cannot even have those conversations, then we're pretending to be in a stable relationship because we know all the problems we have. We know that people have a ton of problems. And what happens when people commit together? Our problems somehow become each other's problems, whether we like it or not. Because
Mhm.
if I have a horrible day at work or something happened to me and I don't know how to handle it, I might take it out on my wife. I really hope that I don't. I personally like to think that I don't. I hope that my wife might say that I don't. It's just an example. But it also will affect my mood. It may. I may come home feeling a little bit different. So even if I'm not lashing out at the person, they're hoping to have a certain or expect to have a certain type of life with me. So our problems may affect each other more than we realize. And that's why being able to have those conversations is so important. And look, if somebody's really looking for a potential spouse that's good for them, what is more important than anything else in most people's eyes, especially men, is not the entire family. It's who is that person.
Yeah.
And if you have problematic people in your life that you can't just get rid of, like my personal religious and cultural beliefs don't include just getting rid of my parents if they're a problem. I might set a boundary, but I'm not getting rid of them. But what are the boundaries that are being set to make sure that I'm not unnecessarily bringing problems into somebody's lives? When we're looking at a potential partner, that is so important. Actually understanding how they deal with problems, how they categorize them, how they decide which battles to fight and which ones they don't need, and what boundaries are the most important. And when you're coming to the table and talking about the future, have they thought about how it's going to affect you from the very beginning? Because if you are the type of person who is thinking that way, then you want somebody who's thinking in a similar manner. And that's important. We talked about it before about compatibility. It doesn't
1000%.
the same person. It's somebody who's compatible with your way of thinking and your hopes and dreams and way of achieving them and what you want out of life. Sorry, you had something to say, Terrance?
No, I was agreeing. It's yeah. This is the difficult thing that people don't talk about being healed and taking responsibility for your life, trying to do the best you can. You will often find yourself feeling lonely because you end up inadvertently putting a spotlight on the people around you who are not taking control of their life. When you say, "Hey, you know what? I don't want to drink as much. Hey, all I see is gambling all over. I don't want to do no more parlays. Hey, I'm tired of partying. Let me start taking my life seriously. Let me figure out where I want to end up." It's so amazing to watch the individuals that support you, but it's also amazing to watch the people that you thought would support you who don't support you. And so even now, it's Christmas Eve weekend, and basically half the amount of people that started on is still here. Over 3 hours. Why? Because, there's private comments that people don't want me to share, and I won't share them because so many of us are going through a similar reality. So we're going through a similar reality. Success is often a very lonely path until you find other people that are successful as well. And when I say successful, I mean in the broadest definition of you know where you want your life to go and you're trying and making progress taking your life there. And it's amazing to watch people that you might have known since childhood who will be an opposition of you trying to become a better version of yourself. But
We're going to take one last question.
yeah, Ali.
Our last one is going to be from Ali. Welcome back, Ali. Good to have you back.
Thank you so much. Hello, 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 and
Hey, how's it
happy
going?
Saturday, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Mid crunch of a chip. Okay. So, thank you so much for taking my call. I really appreciate it. My question, and this has just been a wonderful webinar, as they all have been. Your
Well, thank you.
discussions are phenomenal, and I really appreciate everyone's input that has really only enriched the depth and the beauty of the exchange. So thank you for the offering. My question is this. I've been on here, it's been a little bit since I've been here, and so I have been on just the most amazing, magical, and transformational journey. I did not know I had a high conflict family of origin. Thought I had an amazing family where we were deeply connected and we were just there for one another in the trenches. And so I came to learn that I had I don't know if I call them narcissists, however, narcissistically traded slash immature adults, as my dad is now deceased. And so, long story short, there's a lot going on. There's a lot I've done in the way of healing and learning, growing, transforming, alchemizing. And so I actually am in a wonderful relationship with a phenomenal guy. He's really tremendously beautiful to me in many ways. I never expected to be in this relationship because he's actually my first boyfriend, and we've been friends for decades, actually. And the way he came back into my life is really only a divinely kind of orchestrated situation. And so He's been a big part of my healing journey. And one of the things that I don't know if I grapple with, I'm not really sure how to look at this. Um, I'm someone who's neurodivergent, and he's very supportive and very helpful in many ways. I know his family, he knows my family. We're very different people, different family structures, yet while I had been in a place of judgment, there's a lot more healthy dynamics in his family, even though it looks very different from mine or what I had imagined myself to even desire for my family with my partner and the family that I would maybe cleave to if I were to join someone. And that the age and stage that I'm at in my life, I'm not so sure that I desire marriage in the traditional way. However, my sweetheart is similarly attuned, and so I'm wondering what then are someone's options to even explore these dynamics when you're looking at things like the efficacy of a relationship, because I'm very clear that he's intending for this to be his last first kiss, a second time around, so to speak. And I can see myself doing the same. However, what I also find is that I still have dancing in the recesses of my mind this family and this relational situation that I imagined myself to have prior to learning about me being a trauma survivor, prior to me learning that I was even neurodivergent, prior to me learning that I needed to make modifications to my life, so to speak. And so this is really a question in the way of learning to embrace what's possible and the bird in the hand versus the two in the bush. And I do have a wonderful relationship. I have a great partner who's really sweet, and he's wonderful to me, with me, for me. And I'm just wondering, how do we assess that? Because if I were to scrub what I have against what I had imagined myself to have, like when I was in my 20s, I'm not going to say worlds apart, they're not the same. However, in many ways, this is so much more wholesome and nurturing and grounding and very helpful and very co-regulating and all of those things. And even though I've had phenomenal relationships and I'm accustomed to having those, I haven't had intimate partners with narcissistic individuals. And I also happen to have a secure attachment style, as does he. I'm just wondering, how do we surmise that good enough is in fact good enough? There are no deal breakers. There's so many great things about the relationship. And like I said, I think it's not helpful to attempt to superimpose our current reality on top of what our idealized version of what life would look like for us when we were like in our 20s, if we're decades from that.
Okay.
And so I'm just wondering what say either of you on the matter when we find ourselves in a very healthy, wholesome, helpful, nurturing, very deeply loving, phenomenally fun and just enjoyable in many ways relationship, yet it doesn't look like what we had imagined ourselves to co-create.
Okay.
I'm just
So,
wondering.
so one of the questions I'm asking, because I need
Mhm.
specifics. So
Yeah.
when you're talking about this type of relationship that's extremely beneficial,
Yeah.
first thing I'm going to ask you, do you two share the same values and principles? Just clearly, yes or no? Do you have the same
In,
values and principles?
in many ways we do. In many ways we do. Again, there are no deal breakers, but when I say no, not really, um, there's some lifestyle things within his family origin and orbit that I don't love, yet they're not deal breakers and nothing's illegal. So I will say that.
Okay. Can you get, because nobody knows who you are, specifically, what are you talking about? Because like this is again, like you're talking,
Yeah.
like when you're talking to a man, like we speak
Yes.
specifically. So like, what are you talking about?
Okay. So like he consumes marijuana in ways that I'm not comfortable with. However, I do understand it because he also lives with chronic pain. And so he had a surgery that left him in probably level 8, 9 level pain, even on a decent day.
Hmm.
And so marijuana allows him to not have to do a lot of opiates, and
Hmm.
so he doesn't want to do that because they're obviously habit forming. Thankfully, he hasn't had that challenge, but the point of the matter is it really is heavily sedating and it allows him to be present, to function and have the pain tamped down and be present. And it allows life to be more functional. So I get the medical application of marijuana. I get that. It's also recreational, I guess, for a number of his family members. I don't like that. I don't love it. And a former fiance was a heavy marijuana smoker. And I remember thinking, and this was decades ago, I was thinking, I don't want my babies or our babies around that. I don't like it. A lot of his friends were heavily connoisseurs of it. And he's a multi Emmy award winning, artist, blah, blah, blah. He does a lot of things, several companies. He's doing well. I used to think it's the gifts of death. It's the slippery slope to a life of debauchery. And that's not necessarily true. He's a very responsible person, as is my sweetheart. So these were suppositions that I had prior to releasing the judgments around it and understanding that sometimes these are self, not medicating, but self-regulating, I guess I would say, things that people do that allow them to yeah, not self-medicate. I can't think of the word because I know we're short on time. I can't think of the term,
Yeah.
but it's a way to
It,
self-medicate and self-regulate for a lot of people.
Okay, hold on. Just let me go through it a little bit. Is
Mhm.
that the extent of it, or is there anything else?
No, no, that's it. That's it. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, he
All
doesn't
right.
really drink.
Okay.
In fact, I probably drink more than he does, and I don't really drink.
Okay.
Um,
So,
yeah, we swim together. He's an avid cycler, avid swimmer as well. These are our activities together. He's
okay.
a
So,
nature person as
so
well.
where do you guys want to like when we talk about values and principles? So, do you guys have, if there's religions, do you have the same religion?
So that's just it. I'm more spiritual. I would love it if he was more of a spiritual person or had something that he identified. I used to think I really would not be interested if someone was not a divine masculine in my like masculine, I guess, other. And I've realized that I don't need that. I mean, it would be great. We're not raising children, we're not having children. He's got two grown children and one is 16. And so the bottom line is I thought that that was going to be an issue and I also thought that was going to be a deal breaker. Um, However, it's not. It's not that important to me anyway. And so he's actually a high vibe person and his compass allows him to be enough aligned with me to where it doesn't create a schism or any kind of unsettling, unseating, unworkabilities. So I can say that.
Okay. I'm gonna stay on for a little bit just to do this one.
Yay,
Just
thanks.
real
I appreciate
quickly, when you say spiritual, what does that mean? So, like, this is again, like when you're
it.
talking, and I think this is very important when you
Yeah.
talk to men. Men need to know what you mean. And when
Hmm.
I mean get specific because when men are talking to each other, the more I
Right.
have to pull a definition, the
Hmm.
more the more concerned a man usually gets. And so, like when you say spiritual, always go hand in hand. So, like the reason I'm saying this is because when men are around each other,
Hmm.
if a guy told me he's spiritual, what would all the guys ask Ryan? What do you mean? We are always trying to figure out what does this person stand for. That's again why
Hmm.
male circles are usually so clear
Hmm.
because we know exactly what the code of conduct is and what this person stands for. So
Hmm.
when you're with your significant other,
Yeah.
when you talk about future and all these, you want to make sure your definitions are all agreed upon. It's almost like this thing where make sure you discuss and agree upon, and both of you agree exactly to the terms of what this union is, especially if you
Hmm.
two don't get married.
Right.
Yeah, because
when
In a
Terrence and
traditional sense, a commitment
well,
ceremony, that's different. Being
well,
like life partners, that's different. But
well,
yeah, I don't see myself having a traditional marriage
when
anymore.
Terrence and I use the word marriage, it's really to refer to something that bonds you together that has consequences
Yeah.
during and should somebody break it. Whether you want to define that as legal marriage, whether you want to define that as a religious or faithful marriage, or whether you want to define it simply as a contract. However, as long as it falls into that idea, that's what we mean when we say marriage.
Hmm.
So where people have problems is when they cannot define what is going on and there are
Hmm.
no consequences.
Yeah.
So what Terrence has been trying to do is get you to be more specific and
Hmm.
talk about what that means, because what we would be concerned about and what you might be concerned about going forward, or you should look into, is when you say you don't want a traditional marriage, okay, fine. Let's put that aside. What do you want though? What
Hmm.
are the specifics of what you're looking to build? And did you choose this person or choose a person, whoever they are, because they fit those qualities you need that are written down and agreed upon? Or is it because you just vibe with them? That is really important. So you
Yeah.
mentioned in the conversation that something might not have worked out in the past because of kids, right? You didn't want the kids raised around it. Well, are potential kids of the future still something you want?
Oh, I'm older. No, I don't even
Okay.
have the ability to have children,
So,
and that's not something that either of us are interested in
okay,
creating.
cool.
So, mm-mm.
Yeah.
So that's off the table. So we might not be
Right.
worried about the marijuana usage for like kids in this case. That's totally
Right.
fine. But
Hmm.
the reason I asked was there are things that you might not like or you might not agree with, and you say, look, there are no deal breakers.
Hmm.
Were your deal breakers written down? And if they're written down, is this person fitting them? Because another thing we got to talk about, like Terrence was
Hmm.
talking mention, when you say spiritual,
Hmm.
if you cannot and he cannot define what spiritual means, what happens when you need to make a decision based on your spirituality?
Can you give me an example?
So, okay, one thing I'm going to throw in there.
Mhm.
So, essentially, the biggest reason couples separate is l- misaligned expectations.
Mhm.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, what it's not just I'm spiritual, or let's say somebody's Christian, somebody's Muslim, somebody's
Mhm.
this. It's what does my faith tell me I need to do in a given situation? So the reason that, and literature's clear. The more unclear the state of the relationship, the more likely you're going to find yourself divorced or broken up. So that's why it's so clear, especially if we're not using any pre-laid out constitution of how we're going to treat each other. So like
Hmm.
clear. If you're Christian, there's a way you're supposed to treat each other. If you're confused, find a preacher you both agree to and you can go back and forth with the questions. Same thing if you're Muslim. Find an imam you can talk to. Come up with a way that this faith is going to operate in your life. What
Hmm.
often happens in 2025, and this is one of the reasons that so many people are struggling with relationships, is they're not defining the relationship. It's no
Hmm.
different than I run a company, I hire people. If I don't give them a contract, how do they know when they're violating it? So I would recommend to you and him, if you guys are serious, create a relationship contract of what the expectations are for him and you. A great way to start is this book right here. Me and Ryan haven't wrote this yet, but 101 questions to ask before you get engaged. It's a real good book by Norman, the psychiatrist. And it's
Hmm.
101 questions people should ask of each other before they get,
Yeah.
married because and this is very important. people are marrying because people are getting together based off of a vibe instead of each other joining the same tribe. And this is a problem. So make
Hmm.
sure you two are creating the same tribe of relationship together because a vibe will only last 12 months, 36 months, whatever. You
No,
know?
I agree with you. We've been
Yeah.
together for 3.5 years and it's been amazing. And so I get like Sharia law, very helpful, and other types of laws that
Oh,
one can have like a shared understanding and definition of what things mean. And when I say I'm spiritual, I would probably say it's more eclectic. I'm into a number of things that are really beautiful and very grounding and very transcending, and he actually is really cool with that. And I feel that even though he's not bringing these things to me, where he's like, hey, sweetheart, why don't we do this, that, and the other? He's open to doing it if I invite him to do it with me. Would I love it if he were like sharing these things with me where he's making recommendations that we check things out? I used to think so. It doesn't matter to me anymore, to be honest with you. I feel very perfect, whole, and complete on my own. He's just a beautiful accentuation to my life. And I think that's also part of it. I think depending on where we are in our journey,
Mhm.
if we are doing the work and have done a significant amount of the work, and I feel pretty healed and whole, I really don't have a need for a partner. I do appreciate having him as a complement in my life. I don't even know that we've got to figure out like the living situation. I own property, he owns property. How is that going to work? And it may not be that we're living in the same residence 100% of the time together, and that actually feels okay to me. It doesn't feel like a deal breaker, to be honest with you, because I need a significant amount of downtime, and I don't know. So these are the things I'm looking at, and I'm asking, with whom could I and or he or we sit down to really parse these things out, to examine, to compare and contrast, to create like a template of, this is what I would like to graft into this agreement, this contract. I forget what you all phrased it. What was the phraseology you used earlier? You called it
Like a
a
relational
relationship
relationship.
contract.
contract.
Yeah, it's a relationship contract. So it's one of the
Yeah.
things that when you notice that this is one of the things that couples that stay together,
Mhm.
they usually have went through something like that where
We actually fix we're co-creating something like that, and we have conversations where we talk about these things. And so I check in regularly, we check in regularly, and we've grown a lot, and I make sure he understands when I say, hey, sweetheart, I want to know what your time looks like maybe sometime this weekend so that we can talk about some things. I make sure that he understands it doesn't mean something's wrong or he's messed up.
okay,
So
yeah,
we've grown a lot. We've grown a lot. And he says all the time, I am so happy with you. I mean, I love, and I know I bring him peace, and he brings peace to me as well. So I'm just wondering, how do we assess that, especially if I grew up and had this other type of idealized, like concept of what my life would look like with my future partner, and this doesn't look anything like it yet. I have grown more than I've ever in my life. I am more grounded. It's just really given me wings to fly in ways that I've never had. And I've had phenomenal relationships. So it's causing me to not question everything I know, but just to be open to it looking other than what I imagined it looking like. And so because of that, I'm realizing, it would not be a bad idea maybe to sit down with someone and to look at these things. I'm
yeah,
not in the habit of deluding myself. I know I'm not deluding myself. I'm just wondering, how do we assess though, where we're both sitting down and looking at these things so that we can strengthen our efficacy as a couple and certainly individually.
yeah. I would recommend, I know since me and Ryan currently we're not taking any more clients,
Hmm.
I would definitely take you two sitting down with a counselor, like
Hmm.
a marriage and family counselor.
I
And
discussed
going,
that. He's open. Yeah.
yeah, I
Hmm.
would sit down and go back and forth about, what especially since you've been together 3.5 years. So
Right.
that's a long time to have an understanding of who this person is, and just
Oh,
decide
yeah.
where you want to go, and is this the person you want to go on that ride with,
Mm-hmm.
and come up to that. Both of you come to the table with your honest self and say, okay, this is who you can expect me to be going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is who you I can expect you to be going forward. And you come to an
Mm-hmm.
agreement, and you kind of go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we really overcomplicate relationships. So if we can, it's an honesty thing where this is who I am, this is the life I would like to live. Is this how you want to live as well? And is this somebody I can grow with?
Mm-hmm.
And you move honestly with that, because again, as somebody that's been married for years,
Mm-hmm.
one of the hardest parts about being with someone long term is getting over the fact I want what I want from someone. And we have to stop that inner 7-year old, because that's literally what it often is. It's our
Right.
7-year old self
Sure.
trying to control another person. And the more in control we are about our own life, the more we have our own goals, the more we have
Yeah.
our own ambitions, the
Sure.
less pressure we have to put on that other person.
That's right.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. And so I'm going to say a year and a half of that relationship, a good year and a half was spent me telling him, we're just hanging out because this isn't going to be anything serious because, I'm like marriage minded. And so he's like, okay, I get it. I get it. The more time we were spending together, I'm like, this is like amazing. We're always having great experiences and this feels good. And, so I'm just wondering. Yeah.
I will
Okay.
say this, like I think it would be good, especially if he was if you two were both in front of a marriage and family counselor, because
Right.
like I honestly come at it from a different point of view. So
Hmm.
like I only usually deal with men that start from serious from day one. It's not go from situational ship to long-term relationship. That's I'll be honest, that's the complete opposite of
Well,
what
I understand what you're saying. That was really me because I was clear that he was not what I was looking
no.
for. We were friends and I've known him for decades. And so I'm like, no, I need you to understand I'm on this healing journey. And I didn't expect him to be a big part of the healing journey. And so it was out of that we found ourselves still here because it's working so well. And we've been monogamous and committed and incredibly happy in this union the entire time. I just stopped fighting the notion of not you, someone else. But I'm like, what am I doing? I've got a great man right here and a king among men right here. Like, what am I looking for? And I've actually had my trauma coach say, I'm not getting it. Like, you know how many people would like love to have what you have? Are you kidding me? This is an amazing man. You guys have a phenomenal relationship. Like, what are you really looking for? Seriously, because from everything that I know about you and everything you've told me about him and everything that I know about how this relationship is unfolding, you've got a gold mine. So just think about that. Think about that. And I've had a number of people that I've worked with in the capacity of a therapist say the same thing. And I hadn't really looked at it that way.
I will ask you though, the persons that are giving you advice, are they currently married?
Yes. And
Okay.
happily so.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So I will say this, I will never tell you to marry somebody or to stay with someone, because
Sure.
that's your life. And
Hmm.
we only can determine what we want based on what we want. And
Exactly.
it's like this, if you feel like this is the right person for you, go ahead. Um, I just think, well, just get clear, but make sure is fully clear, fully
Hmm.
clear, and then you can go from there. But I would recommend marriage or family counselor, and to like iron out what does that union actually look like. Okay.
Yeah. And in closing, I'll say this. Thank you so much. I want to say this in closing, if I may.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, just as an addendum to my earlier everything I've laid out. When I hear so many other people, and this is not knocking nor disrespecting anyone else's journey, when I hear so many people talking about their dating lives and online dating and this, that, and the other, I'm like, there's no way I'm wanting and willing to, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having a moment to trade what I have for that level of uncertainty, unpredictability, the danger, the games, and all of that. And like I said, it's different than what I have always imagined based on how I've always prepared myself for the dating world. I've actually had a lot of success in online dating. And like I said, I've actually had a lot of success in life and relationships. It's just that this learning that I had this narcissistic family situation and the neurodiversity kind of created like a dysregulating blip on the radar of my life and living. And while I was working on all of that, Spirit put him in my life. The hand of God moved him in my life, and I'm very clear about that. And I was chided about this, like, excuse me.
Uh,
Who do you think you are? It was like that. And I was chided by Spirit, and Spirit told me, I put him in your life to basically be like a
yeah.
helpmate.
Hold on,
Yeah,
hold on. I hate to say it, but we gotta move on real quick. Sorry,
I
sorry.
got it. Yeah.
I
So
appreciate you though.
I appreciate you as well. So you're saying speak to a marriage and family counselor that maybe can borrow from a book like this, where we actually have these as part of the tenets of how we assess
Yeah,
compatibility and long
Yeah,
range goals or
and I
yeah,
stuff.
would say make sure you have some written things to talk about, like expectations,
Mm-hmm.
how the relationship is supposed to go, how are you going to define it, and any consequences should somebody not hold to it.
yep,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. It's
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, it's going every, it's basically like this. Everything that you don't discuss prior to marriage often ends up being something to argue about once the relationship starts. I know you're not talking about being married, but it's just
In the traditional
whatever it is.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever, decide on how you want to live and go forward with it. And, relationships are private. What people consider a great relationship, I might not want, and what I consider a great relationship, other people might not want. So that's why it's a private thing where
Mhm.
essentially two people have to decide how they want to live. So, I wish you
Mhm.
luck and I hope you continue on that journey.
Thank you. It's
Yep, you're
great.
welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate each of you.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
everybody.
Bye.
Um, I said that was the last one, but we did have one more comment, Terrence, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Um,
what's the
before we
comment?
get up, it was somebody who said that relationships seem easy for everyone else but me, and I'm not really sure why. And I just wanted to say something like the skills required to have a stable relationship, it's difficult to get them. There was always a difficulty in life that people needed to go through in order to learn those skills. If they find relationships easy now, it wasn't always easy for them. Also, just because people say things are okay and say things are great, or they might post about it on social media or people talk about it, doesn't mean you're getting the whole picture. There is always going to be a difficult part of a relationship. Whether life throws you a curveball and you don't know how to deal with it and you need to talk about it, or it's a conversation that you never had that will come up, or there's a misunderstanding, or somebody made a mistake. It's not easy 100% of the time.
Well,
Sometimes even the answer of what to do is easy, but actually executing it may be difficult. So I wanted you to know that it is not the case that everyone has a perfect understanding around you and everything's going well and what they're showing you is what it actually is. That's number one. Number two is if they don't seem easy for you now, it may be because you're in the part of your life on where you're figuring out on what you need to do and what's going on. And sometimes those skills aren't necessarily that I'm a bad person and I'm messing everything up. It could be that I'm letting people in that shouldn't be in, and I'm not knowing the right way to discern what's going on. And the best way to really figure out what is going on is if there's somebody who's successful that you trust. It could be a family member. It could be another professional, somebody who's married and has been successful and can show you how they've been successful. They're credible, that can help you personally walk through what's going on. That is your best bet. It is very hard. And I say this, because I'm empathizing with everyone, including myself of the past and myself of the present. It is so difficult to fix all of our problems on our own
Yeah.
because sometimes it, I am going to overlook something that has to do with myself, and somebody like Terrance, it doesn't even have to be Terrance. Terrance is a professional. It could be my mom. It could be a friend that can put their hand on my shoulder and say, "Hey, man, I know you've been struggling for this for a while. Is there any way I can help you?" And I might say, "Hey, man, I don't know why I keep attracting this crazy type of person. I keep attracting problems." They might be able to tell me something I never saw before. Something so little that I just might have overlooked. Having another person help us is one of the biggest game changers, with a caveat, which Terrance and I have talked about a lot. Make sure that the person who is helping you is actually somebody you believe is credible that can help you. Please. Because the last thing that I want for myself or for anyone when we are in need and we want to turn things around in our life is to, without thinking, go to the person who's going to make it worse.
1000%. One thing I'm going to add, and this is in general the difference between the people that are really capable of helping and the people that think they're capable of helping. I will never tell somebody how to live their life. I will just give you advice. Here's what I've seen. Here's problems that I've noticed. But it's ultimately, I don't have to live someone else's life, so I'm not going to tell them how to live. But see, that's the hard part. There's no cheat code for this. Every one of us is taking a test, and we can't look at the other person's answers. We have to decide how we want to live. And somebody's relationship journey might seem easier than others, but it was their journey. And you, in general, get rewarded in public for the work you did in private. So my wife is married, but she had to have spent thousands of hours learning about male behavior. But people will look and think she was lucky. Is it lucky if you work hard? I guess but the luck shows when we put the work in. And that's the beauty of it. If we put the work into ourselves in our journey, you'll find some people there to stand by you. Not just romantic relationships, but higher quality friends. Ryan, that's something that we didn't even have time to really talk about. But one of the primary reasons so many people are single is that they have low quality friendships. You got friends that are, I'm gonna tell you right now, you shouldn't even know these people. They can't even give you any info. They can't give you any referrals. One of the number one ways people get into high quality relationships is they have high quality friends that are constantly getting them into circles, constantly getting them and say, hey, this guy Brandon, I think he's a good person for you, or this person Sally, based off of you too, I think you guys will get along. A lot of times we just know people, and we mistake the fact that they're friendly, that they're our friends. And that's a huge difference. I don't know how many times I've come across in my consultations where somebody will be getting told by their friend, oh, you should get rid of your relationship, or you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this. And what happens, Ryan? That same person goes and gets that individual next. That's a whole nother thing. We got to finish that book, How to Profile Friends. Like, for real. Like, how many times you come across somebody and it's like, hey, how many individuals do you have in your life that if your life got better, they'd be happy for you? Because a true friend, they'll listen to you when you're in pain, and they'll be happy for you when you're doing well.
Hmm.
So, but that's a whole nother thing. We'll talk about that later. Um,
Thank you, everyone who asked questions, came on camera, stayed on. Thank you to everybody who's no longer here because we definitely ran long today. We appreciate everybody, um, and whether it's the book, the workbook, or the calendar, or the Audible, or any of our presentations, if you have feedback or thoughts, or perhaps there's something really important to you that we haven't yet touched on or published or produced content for, please let us know. We really try and streamline the things that people are asking for and really having problems with right now. Because if you have a problem with it right now, it's more important is to help you with it right now. We can always get to our other projects later on. So
Absolutely.
we
I see.
appreciate the feedback.
I'm
Absolutely.
sorry.
I see a
I'm
couple.
distracted. I'm distracted. What you got there, Terrance?
You know,
What kind of good food you got?
I married a chef. I don't know why guys be making silly mistakes. Like I got an entire cornbread to myself that I'm not sharing. So I
Terrance, Terrance, I'm taking you to the gym. We're going to the gym.
I mean, you can
Work that cornbread off.
You eat too well. Now it's time to work out, man.
hey man, we can go when next time you come up to Michigan, but that's one of those things I tell people you can have the life you want. You just need to be clear about how you want to live.
Mhm.
So
But
funny. If I can really quickly say, my sweetheart used to have a restaurant and he's an amazing chef and he pampers me all the time. I don't even think I cook over there. And it's one
wow.
of his love languages and he loves to pamper me with beautiful fresh smoothies and really healthy food. And that is my just sanctuary when I go to his house and I'm there for 2.5 weeks at a time. And it's great. Yeah. So, yeah. But thank you for allowing me to share and thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Hmm.
Yep. I see the question right there. Hey Ryan, and I just want to know, people say, how do you find these high quality friends? I don't know another way to say it. Become a high level person. Like I'm serious. If you become a high level person where there's certain connections you ignore, you don't focus on people that are complaining, you focus on people that are moving forward, you will be surprised how quickly your life changes. Now, the what I notice with women is it's very different. Like what these circles that we're part of, I don't notice much of any of the women that even talk about it. I That's a whole nother thing. Is I don't know why this isn't like disclosed, and you have your theories on this, and I have my theories, Ryan, about why there's an entire ecosystem of like high level people that are marrying. They bring their friends in, but they are not going to let the general population know about it. Even though if you go on ChatGPT right now, it'll tell you where are high level networks found in my city. And you'll see there's an entire ecosystem that you don't know about. You know what I'm saying? So
I have a lot of things to say, but
yeah, we'll talk about that on the
I have
Facebook.
to get off now because now it's time for me to eat, and my wife's home and she's waiting for me to help her with the groceries. And I didn't think that we'd be on this long,
You
but
should
we
know we're
have
going to
to.
be on this long. Sorry.
You
So
in
it
trouble?
gets longer every time. Well, look, thank you to everybody. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the engagement. It's definitely, it gives us a chance to help people. And we don't do this to sit here for 3 hours and just lecture. That's why we really just try and keep that part to 1 hour, give you guys some information, some things to take notes on, things that could help you, things to ask us questions about. We stay on because you guys stay on and you ask us questions, and we hope that it's helpful.
Absolutely. So in the future, the longer ones will catch you on Patreon.
Yep.
That way we can get really into some of these issues and, really iron them out. So we appreciate
Whatever,
everybody's time.
whatever you celebrate, whether you celebrate or not, if you got days off work, you're having a party just cause, happy holidays, happy end of the year, happy New Year's, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Thank
See
you.
ya. See everybody next month.